Hey guys, it's your boy BANZAI here, Mr. Yates. So, just been avoiding doing this for a long time now. I know, I've been trying to stay out of the debate as much as I can, at least on the surface area with a lot of my constituents and whatnot. I've done the thing that I could, calling our congressmen, letting them know my personal opinion on the matters at hand and everything. But today's school walkout is what what prompted me to make this video today. It seems today that it's not a culture of guns and gun violence that we live in. It seems actually to me that it's a culture of fear that we now live in. Because we have all of these people that have now allowed our youth, even our older generation, to believe that a tool, an item, a thing that's just made of a piece of metal, something that's just someone has constructed, is the root of all evil. But yet they're denying the fact that it's the individual that's the problem. And the big argument is we want to keep our schools safe. We want to keep our schools safe, our children safe. Well, you know what? All the things that it seems like we care about the most, what do we protect it with? We protect it with weapons. Our banks, our government. How many of these government officials, like Dianne Feinstein, who had to turn in her CCDW, had to revoke her own CCDW from her because her constituents in the left were like, hey, what are you doing? You're voting so hard against this gun control, but yet you've got all these armed guns. Of course, once she did that, she did increase her security detail by a lot. But the big thing is, if you don't want the citizens to have guns, why do you have a concealed carry license? Why should you be allowed to have a concealed carry license? How is that fair? Okay? Now, you want to keep our schools safe. You want to make our children safer. Well, you know what created the unsafe situation for our children to begin with? The Safe Schools Act of 1990. There's always been shootings. There's always been killings. There's always been murder. Everyone wants to pretend that, oh, it's so much worse now than it used to be. Everything's so much worse. I wish we could go back to the old days where things were better, where things were ancient. Well, I saw a really funny meme the other day, and it said, man, I wish we could go back to the olden days when things were less violent, people were less crazy. And then it shows a medieval photo of two gentlemen, which is an actual photo, sawing a man's head in half. And it says, hey, let's just saw this dude's head in half, because those are the things that actually happened back in the day. And the only reason that people believe that things are worse now is simply because of media. We have the ability to instantly get our transmissions. We can instantly get the information that we want. When the shootings happened in Columbine, how quickly did people find out? Instantly. When the Boston Massacre happened, the first real serious mass shooting in American history, when that happened, how long do you think it took for the rest of the country to find out? Weeks, months? Or yet we can find out when something's going on as it's happening, which gives you the illusion that things are so much more worse now, when really they're not. They're the same they've always been. Technology is advanced. Our society has created, honestly, a lot more outcasts in the past, I would say, 100 years than it ever has before. With the social disorders, the social, separation that we have amongst a lot of youth especially. I mean, they're creating their own cliques. There's a lot of amnesty. There's a lot of alienation that's going on. I mean, how many kids have you met as a kid who simply just needed a friend, but nobody gave it to them, including yourself? Okay? So really, is it the tool? And so let's get to that. Let's talk about why our schools aren't safe. Our schools aren't safe. 1990. Forget the date exactly, but 1990 is when the Safe Schools Act got enacted. They play on an original, so I guess let's backtrack a little bit, because we got to start somewhere first. 1968, our government enacted the Safe Streets Act, which was supposed to reduce gun violence and things like that, and shootings and mass killings and things like that. So I love what our state representative, by the way, Congressman Thomas Massey said. He said that in 1968, realistically, we should not have had one mass shooting if that was going to work. If there was a way to completely prevent it, then since 1968, we should not have had one mass shooting since then. We've had a lot, haven't we? Happens every single day. But it's only certain times that it seems like people actually care. And that's when the argument gets pulled up. So, going forward a little bit, 1990, we get the safe. We include schools into that act. So that creates the gun-free zones in schools in America. 1 year later, almost to the day, 1 year later, in Iowa, mass shooting where a man kills 6 people in a school. Biggest mass shooting in schools, realistically, I think, in American history at the time. Then, let's go forward a little bit further. Not much is going on then. I mean, go check the statistics. Go check the timeline of American school shootings. Go check that, of mass shootings. Not much has happened since then, okay, in terms of schools. Then in 1999, Columbine happens, okay? It's not like we didn't have ample opportunity to prevent that. We saw the videos that people were making. We saw the videos that these 2 gentlemen were making. They were preparing for an entire year for this, and there were no red flags. Whoever looked at the parents and said, how are you not aware that your child is going through something? How are you not aware that this is going on? Here posting videos on YouTube. How is no one aware that this is going to happen? How is it such a shock when it did happen? You know why? Because people are ignorant. They're blind. And they're living in a world of a bubble. So now we go a little further. Let's talk about Florida. What just happened? We lost 17 kids, right? I'm a parent. I have 2 children. That to me is an absolute tragedy. However, we all know it could have been prevented. Numerous FBI tip-offs. It was in the news. We knew that people knew it was going to happen. There were warning signs. It was basically a giant red flag that said, hey, this is about to happen. You can prevent it if you take action now. You know, it's my personal belief that since we all know this, we all know that the government and the FBI knew what was going on. They knew. But yet they didn't do anything about it. I wonder why that is. In my personal opinion, you got people like Schumer and Feinstein and everybody else that have so much control, and then even the NRA is afraid of people now. So now we've got all these people that are afraid, and guess what fear does? It's going to create followers. And if the government or the FBI who had all this information is able to go, we got the information, but we're not going to do anything about it. We're just going to wait. And then 17 children are shot. 17 kids are killed. And at that point, what do they have now? All these people going up behind them. We got to have more gun control. We got to have more gun control. But yet, not too far away, well, I guess it is kind of far away, but over in Texas, not very long prior, when the shooting happened in that church, how many people talked about Williford? How many of you guys saw Williford in the news? You didn't. You didn't hear about the man who ran out of his house with an AR-15, things that you guys call an assault rifle, which, you know, if you know anything about guns, you know that an assault rifle is not, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist until I go out here and create a mass shooting, then I have an assault rifle. Until then, it's just an item. But a church gets shot up. This man hears it from down the road. He hears what's going on, knows what's going on. He runs out of his home, barefoot, loading an AR-15, running to the church, where he stopped the shootings. He, a citizen just like me and you, stopped those shootings. Nobody talks about that, right? Only everybody talks about is the victims and how, not just the victims, but how much of a tragedy and how it's because of a certain reason. Well, let's go back even again. 1994, in the Clinton administration, when they did the National Firearms Act, or not the National Firearms Act, but when they did the first assault ban. Lasted 10 years till 2014. It lasted from the time I was 4 years old till I was 14. I didn't know anything about it because I was a kid. But yeah, as I get older, I get to read about it, get to learn about it. You understand that it didn't do anything. Statistics prove this. Go look it up yourself. Statistics prove that it didn't do anything to reduce violent crime in America. Nothing changed. Violent crime was the same. Nothing changed. It also didn't reduce the gun violence that was going on. Because if you actually read the statistics, people don't really use long guns for mass shootings that much. Most of your killings, most of your mass shootings are done with handguns. Easier to acquire, easier to get, easier to conceal, easier to handle. So it's a lot easier to do a lot of damage with a handgun than it is to do a long rifle. And if you look at the statistics, far more people committed murder during the year of 2014 when they actually took the study, right after the act was ending. Right when they did that study, they showed that far more people killed people with their bare hands and feet than they did with guns or rather long guns at that time. So it seems like it's not a problem with the tool. It's not a problem, with the item itself. It's a problem with people in their fear. And they're always living in this bubble that we can rely on our system. We can rely on the people. They are going to protect us. They're going to keep us safe. Oh, really? Okay. How many of you who are spouting all of this, who are so anti-gun, who are so pro-control, and so taking away rights? I mean, if you're going to take away the Second Amendment, might as well take away the First. Because if you take away my Second Amendment right, you've taken away my First Amendment right. Because my opinion, my freedom of speech tells me that, well, I believe in all of our rights, and one of those rights is the Second Amendment. And that Second Amendment tells me that, hey, I can bear and defend myself, whether it be from enemy, whether it be from threats both foreign and domestic, meaning in my home, outside my home, my government, wherever it be. Whoever threatens the livelihood of America, we have the opportunity and the ability to defend that. Now, if you take and you start giving out gun control, that's going to take that away. It's all gone. And now, who has the ultimate control? So, my big question to you guys is, how many of you who are spouting about gun control, who are spouting about we need to do this, we need to do that, who are walking out of school protesting something out of fear rather than standing up and do something about it? I saw something today on Facebook that said, instead of doing a walk out, let's do a walk up, where you find somebody that doesn't have a friend. You find somebody that is going through a hard time. You find somebody that needs somebody, and you give them somebody that's yourself. You be the better person, and you help solve the problem by making other people feel more appreciated and more wanted. Because that's a big thing, guys. Look at the Columbine shootings. They felt like outcasts. One of the guys, he was just a loose cannon, probably just a psychopath nut. But the other guy was a social outcast who just wanted to be heard, wanted to be seen, wanted somebody to recognize him. And unfortunately, evil recognized him instead. So instead of all those students that, were complaining or who wanted to downgrade, like I said, I'm not at all downplaying the tragedy that happened in anything. But how many of these tragedies, especially like with school shootings, where it was involving students, how many of those shootings could have been prevented just by a little more friendly atmosphere? Less of these cliques that everybody wants to create. Allowing people to be who they are. And like I said, my question to you guys is, how many of you actually have ever seen real violence? I'll tell you a story. I live in Lexington, Kentucky. I know a lot of you guys may have know where that is. It's not the roughest city in the world by any means, but it does have it's like any place. It's got its rough areas. I grew up on the north end of town. At one point, I was very, very down on my luck. Had a bike to work and everything. Lived in a bad neighborhood with my children and my fiance. And one morning I'm heading out to ride to work on my bike, and I turned the corner onto 7th Street. And next thing I know, I got my headphones on and everything, and all I hear is boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, what is that? Well, I take a look to my left, and there are 3 very large gentlemen coming down on me. And next thing I know, the biggest man puts his fist in the side of my face. Now, mind you, I don't know what their motives are. I don't know what they plan to do to me. All I know is that right now, my life is in danger. Now, I've been in martial arts for a long time. If it had not been for that fact, I wouldn't be able to make this video today. Because I know they had knives. I know they had weapons on them. And if it hadn't been for my physical ability, then I wouldn't be here sitting here today. You best believe, when that happened several years ago, I was able to own a gun. I just couldn't afford one. And you best believe, I wish I would have had one at that moment. When 3 men assaulted me, sent me to the hospital, but somehow I came out on top. Only because I had training. How many of you guys are willing to get training? How many of you guys are willing to actually educate yourself? Pick up a firearm, go shoot it one time. As a matter of fact, why don't you go pick up a handgun and go shoot an AR-15? And tell me the major difference in the actual two. There's not. There's this idea that we're creating safe zones, but we're actually creating unsafe zones. Where do predators prey? Where the weak are. Where those who can't defend themselves are. Where is that right now? Our schools. our libraries, are places where lots of youth and lots of people congregate. That's where we don't want guns. But yet, we neglect to acknowledge the fact that, okay, you take away the tool. There are more, I would go on a limb to say that there are more illegal guns in America, or just as many illegal guns in America as there are legal guns. How do you know which is legal, which not? How do you know who has them and who doesn't? Really, you only know who has the legal guns based on, their background, based on the fact that they had to buy it from an authorized dealer. All these people, it's so easy to get a gun. You ever went and got one? Those people that say it's so easy to get a gun, which is mostly people who have never actually purchased a firearm before. And if you've ever purchased a firearm, it ain't that easy. You're in that store for about 20, 30 minutes waiting on somebody to make a phone call, do your background check and everything else. And if something comes back that they don't like, guess what? You're getting delayed. You're getting denied. It is possible. I've actually watched somebody that I know who was like, no, it's so easy to get a gun. Watch, I'm going to go in here and get approved. Got denied. I knew he didn't have a criminal past. I knew he was a decent person, wasn't going to shoot anybody, but he even got denied. And that happened to me before. I got denied by somebody before and had to wait. I had to delay. And I've not done anything violent or anything. So the criminal background check's not going to solve anything, because 99 out of 100 of those that come back denied are false positives, meaning somebody that is a law-abiding citizen who should not have their right revoked, but we're unable to buy a gun at that point. Do you guys realize that we are actually depriving, as of right now, if you as a veteran go down to the VA and tell them that you are not financially responsible for your finances, you don't manage your own finances, you are deemed unfit to own a firearm. And you're also deemed unfit to even possess firearm or ammunition. You're not allowed to buy one or own or carry one. You can't touch it. But yet, is it fair for the man that gets his leg blown off and is in a wheelchair forever, who's still right up here? Nothing wrong with him. He just can't walk anymore. And because he's permanently disabled, and maybe his wife is in charge of the finances for the house, and he puts that on there, that he's not he actually is, his wife is the one who manages the finances. She's the breadwinner of the house, maybe. She manages the finances, that's what she does. Well, guess what? That man can no longer get a gun. He can't own one. I hear the argument, well, why would you want that kind of firepower? What kind of firepower? What do you think civilians can own that is going to be so dangerous? Do you know that a semi-automatic handgun functions the exact same way as a semi-automatic rifle? Same. There's no difference. Bullet size, maybe. Velocity, maybe. And I love what what Congressman Massey said. You want to ban bump stocks, but even Obama, and during his administration, said that it's not anything that should be on the NFA. It's not anything that legally should be able to be banned on a firearm, especially since it's a piece of cosmetic plastic. That I love what Congressman Massey said. No real gun owner is going to use a bump stock. You know why? We don't need one. Okay? We don't need a rate increasing device. It's called trading. Okay? Something our police don't even have the right adequate training for. Our police don't have the right adequate training. That's why, I forgot where it was. I just heard about it. I think it might have been in Texas again, where another guy came into a church, and the man, actually, yeah, it was on the news. A guy came in, tried to shoot up a church. A bunch of people detained him. One guy that was on top of him took the gun away from him. The cops came in. The guy was afraid of throwing the gun, like the cops said. The cops told him to throw the gun to the side. He was afraid the gun was going to go off. So he bent down in front of these officers and got shot twice by an officer. Doesn't that seem like a lack of training to you on the officer's part? People were explaining to him, this is not the shooter. We have the shooter on the ground. This is the gun he was using. I'm putting it down, and they shoot the guy. That's a lack of training. That's a trigger-happy cop that was not trained correctly. How many of you guys go out and train? How many of you guys that own a gun go to the range? How many of you guys that don't own a gun have ever shot a gun? How many of you guys that want gun control have ever seen real violence on you? I don't care if you've seen it in the distance. I don't care if maybe you were an innocent bystander. You heard about it on Facebook. Have you ever been involved in real violence? Especially when it's not your choosing. Now I can tell you right now, if I was as a parent, right now it is illegal for me to carry my weapon inside the school. I get that. It's the law. But I guess I'm going to prison if I happen to be the one to show up to pick up my baby girl or my baby boy up from school one day, and I see that the school's on lockdown because there's an active shooter inside. Well, guess who's going in to save those kids? Are you? Or are you just going to be the person that sits there and says, oh, I hope the cops get here soon. I hope nobody else gets shot. I really hope the cops get here soon. The average response time for law enforcement, emergency responders. Remember that. They're emergency responders. They're not there to save you. They're not there to protect you. They're there to respond to a situation. And 9 times out of 10, the situation's over when they get there. 9 times out of 10, the person's already raped. The person's already dead. The person's already lost everything. So when does it become our responsibility to defend our damn selves? When does it become our responsibility as parents to educate our children? Teach them. Give them confidence. Give them the life skills that they need. But instead, we're creating a world of fear. And that's what I believe this walkout is about. I don't believe it's about protest. I believe it's about a bunch of kids who have been fed lies by their parents, by our national government, especially from the left. I think they are being lied to. I think they are being fear-mongered. And they're just being filled with all of these ideas that it's a tool. And recently, I watched a video. It just happened on the 6th of this month. Congressman Massey was talking about how he talked to a Columbine survivor. And how at first, when he's 40 years old now, at first they were very upset, at the administration, how things were handled, how poorly things were executed to save the kids. But now looking back, he wishes maybe his teachers had guns. He wishes that maybe there were more law enforcement officers stationed at his school. I remember when I was in high school, there were 2. Both extremely fat and overweight and could not catch anything. I mean, what are they going to do? When shit hits the fan, what are they going to do? Are they going to gas out and go, I can't get there. I hope the other cops get here soon? No. They're probably going to get shot too. They're probably going to die too because they're untrained and and there's not enough manpower. Sorry about that, guys. So, is the problem the tool or is the problem the fear that we have right now? Because guess what? You take away our guns, now we are defenseless. Now the only option that we have is to hope and pray. I would rather be able to stand up and do something about it, be able to take action, than to hope and pray. Because guess what? It's an old saying that still rings true. Wish in one hand, shit in the other. Which one's going to fill up faster? So now I want you to imagine this. You're in the self-defense situation. Because everybody's like, what are we defending ourselves from? Real violence. If you've never encountered it, good for you. If you've never had somebody break into your house, good for you. If you've never been assaulted on the street, good for you. Some of us have. And that's who you're depriving the right of. You're depriving the right of the person who lives on their own, who is worried that something could happen, that just wants the ability to defend themselves. These people that are going out and killing everybody, they're the 1%. They're not that many people. They're really not. But they're killing far more good people than we are doing anything to save. Look at the statistics. About 30,000 gun deaths a year in America. Over half of those are suicide. Nobody talks about that. And I guarantee you one thing. If somebody wants to take their own life, it doesn't matter if they have a gun. It doesn't matter if they have a knife, cyanide, or rope. They're going to do it. Now let's look at the gun violence. About what? 10 to 15,000 gun deaths a year from violent crime. Look at the statistics. People like me, people like you, save millions every day. Thousands upon thousands of people. Millions of people are saved every year. Thousands are saved every single day from the defensive use of firearms. I've been a gun owner since I was 22. Ask anyone who knows me if they're afraid I'm going to shoot them. Ask anyone who knows me if they're afraid if I'm going to go out here and commit a violent act. But I also want you to ask each one of those individuals if I would stand up for them if they were in danger. If I would stand up for my family if they are in danger. Be responsible. Take control of your own life. And realize there's no such thing as a safe zone. Those are the most unsafe places on the planet. And honestly, our recent history has proved that. Nowhere is safe unless you create a safe environment for yourself. You have to take care of you. Nobody's going to do it. So let's imagine this wishing is you praying for somebody to come save you when that man puts a gun to your face. This is the shit. That's all of his bullets. Now, wishing weighs nothing. Bullets kill you. So, if he's allowed to have it, why can't I? If he's allowed to threaten my life, why can't I? Why can't I defend it? That's what you're trying to take away. You're trying to create fear, and you're trying to take everything away from us. That includes the people just like me and you that are voting against this. This week, it went to the floor in Congress for the new act, H.R. 4489 or something like that, I think, where they're trying to initiate and cover up another assault weapons ban, which means they're trying to come after any semi-automatics, guys. There are over 200 named firearms on the list, and I guarantee you, if you own a gun, I bet you got one. They're coming for them. They're coming for our ability to defend ourselves, our right to defend ourselves. And because of fear, so many people, so many of our American brothers and sisters are going to let them unless we stand up and fight. That doesn't mean pull out your guns and start shooting. That means going to your politicians. That means picking up the phone. That means making videos like this, calling people, sending emails. Do whatever you can do to make your opinion heard. And if you really, really, really want to go against guns, you want gun control, if you own one, turn it in. If you have security guards, fire them. Destroy the police. Get rid of the military. Because guess what? The reason our country is what it is now, the reason we really are the most free country in the world, are for rights just like this. Because we have the ability to defend ourselves. The moment that starts being taken away, and right now, a lot of it's trying to be done without due process. A lot of it's trying to be done without following the proper channels. The executive branch is doing a lot of bad stuff right now, guys. And honestly, I think Trump, I'm going to say it, I think he's afraid of a lot of his constituents, and he's caving. That's just my opinion. Now, I know a lot of you after this video may delete me. I don't care. You're entitled to your opinion. But I have a right. I have 2 children and a fiance. And I'll be damned if anybody tells me that I don't have the right to defend them. I'll be damned if anybody can look at another person and say, you don't have the right to defend yourself. Because that's what you're doing. We are founded on the ability of freedom. The ability to think freely, to act freely, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. These people that are shooting everyone, I have no sympathy for. I don't care what your problems were as you grew up. I don't care what's going on. If you commit these acts, you are evil. But on the same token, how many of us could have helped cause that problem? So stand up for once in your life, for something that's real. Stop being afraid. Get your education. Hell, quit being a fat, lazy American and get some damn training. And then maybe, just maybe, you might have a little bit of perspective of what we're talking about. Maybe, just maybe you can make a difference. But it ain't going to happen if you cave and fall in. It's not going to happen if you just give up, which is what things like this walkout are going to do. It's encouraging people to give up. Just like what the 14,000 shoes that were left on the White House lawn. I get it. If that was my child that was lost, I would be very angry too. But see the difference between me and you? I train. I know how to use my firearm. I know how to use it responsibly. I don't have to worry about my kids shooting themselves because they're trained. They know what their weapon is. They know what a real one looks like. They know how to get help. They know what to do if they ever encounter a firearm. They know how to get the help. How many of your kids do? How many of you do? So with that being said, this is America. And your boy BANZAI wants to see us acting like Americans. Because I was born in this country and I love it to death. But it's highly disappointing me right now. And a lot of it has to do with people like you guys that are afraid. Stand up with me. Don't be afraid. Stand up for your right. Use your right. And if you don't want to use your right, quit trying to take it away from somebody else. That's all I got for you guys. I know it was a rant. I know a lot of you guys might not like what I said, what I had to say, but I encourage you, educate yourself. That's what I do. Hell, my girlfriend, my fiance gets mad at me all the time for how much I read, how many podcasts I listen to, how much I'm into it, how much I'm very outraged, and how opinionated I am. She gets on her damn nerves. But guess what? She believes in what she believes in the right, and that's right too. She knows that it's necessary. So stand up. Don't be a sheep in the world of wolves. America was designed to be the country of sheepdog against the wolves. When did we all become sheep?